Are you tired of watching shows that only give you general social media theory and expect you to figure out how to apply it to your own industry? Join us for this week's episode of Social Chatter, the industry's longest-running social media marketing news talk show. Not only will you learn the latest breaking news, but you'll also gain practical advice on how to apply it. Now here's your host, Christian Karasevich.
Welcome everyone to Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing news talk show. It's great to be back. This is episode 220. We missed everybody. I think it was last week actually. For Thanksgiving, we decided to take the week off. But now we are back. We have a fantastic show for you. I think it was 2 weeks ago actually, but a fantastic show for you this week. We've got Phil back co-hosting with me, and we're also joined by Scott Ayres. So he works for Agora Pulse. I'm going to let bring Phil on and have him tell a little bit more about Scott. Fantastic individual. He's a very, let's see, how can I put it? Maybe extravagant, wild individual. I mean, you'll see this in a second, but Phil, how are you doing this week?
Hey, Christian, I'm terrific, man. I'm terrific. I think the word that we're looking for Mr. Ayres is he's colorful.
Yes, definitely colorful.
So we're excited about that. He's the social media myth buster, right? He works. So one of the things that I like most about Scott Ayres, if you're not following him, it's Ayres. If you're not following him, you're missing out. One of the things I like most about him is that, contrary to popular belief that they just hear it from one person or they see one influencer do one thing and then they rush to copy it, Scott and his team actually make sure that this stuff is tested, that it's actually legit, that stats aren't just made up on the spot. Because Christian, 83% of all statistics are made up on the spot, just like that one, right? So, but that's the problem with these folks, right? So Scott, instead, he is the social media content scientist, right? So not just social media, but all this stuff. And I love that about Scott. He's super insightful. He's opinionated, which I think is really important. And he's wicked smart. And like we said, he's colorful. So Christian, can you bring him on? We got to see why this guy is so colorful. Maybe the time in the laboratory has changed him a little bit. Yeah. I don't know. Oh my God, it's orange hair. Holy cow. Is that just for me, Scott, or is that from the time in the lab or what?
Yeah, it's a great branding mix here with the orange hair. I need some orange glasses. That's what I really need. I need to step my game up a little bit.
That's it, man. That's it.
Swap glasses, maybe.
Yeah, there we go. So, So if you give me 100 licenses to Agora Pulse, I'll send you one lens.
One lens, just one pair.
One,
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
We'll thanks for having me on. And I have to point out that Christian and I are in a fantasy football league together, and I beat him in the playoffs this week. And I don't know how I beat you, to be honest, because I thought for sure you were going to crush me. He had players left at the end that just did nothing. And so I was really excited. It's my first year in this league, so I'm glad to actually be into the second round of the fantasy football playoffs. So.
Well, that's funny, man. So, Russell Wilson let you down, man. He's a Wisconsin guy. I got to tell you, he let a lot of us down.
Yeah.
And, that happens, though. Fantasy football is a lot like social media, except without the social media. I mean, it's exactly the same.
No, you're absolutely right. It's all about part of it. It's not about like, oh, this player is a better player. It comes down to statistics. Like what's is the person trending? Maybe they hit a hot streak, for example, depending on the team they're playing, all that sort of stuff, and that's the one thing I do like that, what Scott does there with Agora Pulse as well, with the fact that you guys test out a lot of things to find out what actually works, because a lot of people, as Phil said, they take things at face value just because, hey, the internet said it, or Facebook or some guru on Facebook. And, we don't really like the term guru, I guess, because nobody really is a guru. Nobody knows everything. It's all about testing it with what you actually do and your customers. So fantastic to have you on. And Phil, it's fantastic to have you back as well.
Cool.
So let me know when you guys are ready to kick things off.
Yeah, let's kick it. Let's kick it one time, boy.
Oh, no, man. You just showed your age there.
I did, man. So for those of you that don't know what I just did, that was a little Vanilla Ice baby, a.k.a. reality TV star Robert Van Winkle, which is really sad. And I've actually been down A1A Beachfront Avenue now. So because, I live here in Florida. So I drive around, right? And there were not girls rocking hot there driving Lamborghinis. And unfortunately, I did not get mine. There's none of that. So
is Vanilla Ice still like building homes with the Amish?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, man. He's a reality TV star now.
He is. He's got that show where he's like he's really a master craftsman. I mean, he knows what he's doing, but it's just funny. He does it with the Amish, which is like a whole weird mix.
Yeah. They're like interns, only friendlier. So it's really nice. I mean, we appreciate that. So Christian, we should see about getting an Amish or a Mennonite to help us out here because they work really hard, man. And all jokes aside, the furniture that they put together and the craftsmanship. I was in Philadelphia last weekend and went to an Amish market, and they really have attention to detail that I am sorely lacking. So they're probably not watching or listening to the show because they save the electricity for the important stuff. But if they ever would, we'd welcome you on the show.
So did you go to, I think it was Reading, was it Reading Terminal you went to?
Mm-hmm. I went to the Reading Market. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep. 4th Street cookies. They were so good. Scott, you been there? You been to Philly?
I have not actually, no.
Very good. Go to Reading Market if you go. Really good stuff, man. It's like the public market in Seattle, except it's indoors.
Okay.
It's really nice, and not as much seafood, of course.
And nobody's throwing fish at you. Yeah.
Well, they probably are though, but those are usually the homeless people.
Oh well, that's a whole different story.
Yep, whole another story. So cool. So Christian, let's kick this party.
I think we're ready to go. Yeah, I think I got everything.
Good. So cool. So let's start about Twitter here. We're gonna bag on Jack a little bit here and talk about what he did, which is an interesting move. I think it's a smart move for Twitter. They now have a new @Twitter retweets account to highlight the best tweets on the platform. And before we even talk about this, I have to say, Shem Gartenberg, C. Gartenberg on Twitter says, remember when Twitter was actually fun? Like that's the subhead. And this person is like 11 years old. So I don't think Shem actually understands what it means back when Twitter was fun. Because back when Twitter was fun was like 2006, 2007, back when the API was wide open. So to that point, though, but this is interesting, right? They're going to highlight the best tweets on the platform. So now we're going to see businesses try to be more cheeky. Scott, do you see that cheekiness gets any actual business results with Agorapulse?
I will. The data might show a little bit, but my problem with this is, who's curating this retweet thing? I mean, it's going to be biased big time, I think, by Twitter. And so you're going to see people that they want you to see, or maybe people who are paying them to show up on there. So it's an interesting move for them, but I think the cheekiness will work a little. I mean, not everybody can be Wendy's and do all the stuff that they're doing, and people that try to copy that usually end up looking foolish. Unless you're like Netflix. Did you see the Netflix thing here recently? That was pretty fun that they did. But I think this retweet thing is going to be interesting to watch, but I think people will try to game it for sure somehow. But I think it'll be biased.
Yeah,
personally.
I agree. I can't wait to see the first influencer put together a campaign that guarantees that they're going to get retweeted by Twitter retweets.
Yeah.
And then just steal, like totally freeboot somebody else's video or something like we see on Instagram all the time.
Right.
That's going to happen. I mean,
of course they are. It's probably going to be Jay Shetty too. Right. I mean, that's the thing. For real, man, that's the problem. We're going to see people that are already influential that steal all the funny stuff and then tweet it as their own and then claim this, right?
Yep. Yeah, unfortunately, I like the idea of it. I mean, the fact that they, I like the concept of curating this and saying, hey, you know what? Having like tweets that people might miss.
Right.
I love that idea. But like Scott said, I don't like the fact that people are going to probably try to game it. B, who's actually the one that is curating all of this? Yeah, is somebody paying for this? I mean, this is a very slippery slope, I think, trying to introduce what should be a fun concept, because people are gonna be like, well, hey, so-and-so's paying for this, like, or somebody's gonna have some sort of like, they're gonna meddle in something. I think so. I think that, unfortunately, I don't like that part.
Yeah. So, I think with the volatile political atmosphere we have, it's gonna be really interesting to see when they retweet the first politician and what side they're going to kind of slant towards. And I think we obviously know which one they'll do, but then people will be up in arms immediately. So I think they've got to be careful with this for sure.
Definitely. If I'm a business, so like, let's talk about this from a business perspective. Like, what do I do as a business owner? Like with this, do I, should I obviously should follow the @Twitter retweets account. I think that's a good first step for everyone, but should I try to get my content into this? What should I do?
Well, I don't think there's going to be anything relevant here. That's the thing. If there's something relevant, absolutely. But one of the things that they could do, even if it's not super relevant, is sometimes a little bit of cheekiness helps show off your personality. So if it's aligned with your brand, right, Mr. Ayres, right, the orange hair, if it's aligned with your brand, that's totally cool.
Right.
So what you could do is A, you could retweet it. B, you could take a screenshot and put it on your Instagram. You could put it on your Facebook page and then explain a little bit, not a lot, because you don't want to, if you have to explain the joke, it's not that funny, but you do want a little bit of how it just connected a little bit tangentially to your brand. Now, the challenge is how many people are actually funny in real time?
Not many. Yeah.
Not many, right? I know I'm not, right? So I can't do that. And so the challenge is, everybody goes then and tries to copy what Aviation Gin just did.
Right.
Instead of really considering, is this aligned with my brand?
Right.
I don't know. Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I think too many people are gonna force the square peg into the round hole. They're gonna try to be this funny thing to kind of get popular. So Twitter shows this, and it's just, and then you look at the rest of their tweets, and they're just dull as can be, or just posting links all day long. And so I think it'll hurt more than anything to try to get on this, but it does make Twitter a little more interesting. Maybe have a little bit more personality. And kudos to them for trying. They've added a lot of new features here recently, but at least they're trying to do something different right now.
But is this a feature, or is this just some boring opportunity for them to highlight another 40 jokes a day, right? Is this just a Reddit thing? I mean, again, let's pick on Reddit, right? But realize it's also a good place for business, right? This is a Reddit BuzzFeed thing that they did 10 years ago. I mean, remember when Twitter was actually original? That's what I want to talk about, right? That's what I want to see. I want to hear, what I'd love for them to see is, let's make each of these ones a vote so that businesses can actually say, yep, I want to upvote this, so that it goes then to my network. Forget about a retweet, man. I want to see a vote so that it says, out of my 318 followers, 37 of this thought this was funny, so that I know I should do it again.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I just wondered too, if they're just doing enough raw numbers, like some popular retweet, people are going to gamify that and pay bots to do that, and so I think it's going to have to be 100% hand picked, which really again skews it. Remember Facebook trending topics? The trending news that was they had a team that just picked that. I think that's what this is going to be. So in the end, no one's going to be happy with it.
Can't wait to see how badly this goes. I don't know, Christian, you get the final word. What do you think?
Like I said, I like the idea, the concept of this, but I think there's too much gamification that could happen. I think that, this is something that should have launched a few years ago, before we got into this whole thing of politicians and, influencing elections and meddling and all of that sort of stuff. There needs to be greater transparency. And I think I thought this was actually good when Twitter said, hey, we're not going to allow political ads. But then I think that this sort of takes 10 steps back, sort of, because I think it's going to be possibly used how people don't want it to be used. So
totally agree.
I mean, totally there are 8,000 followers on Twitter. Not a huge number there, but we'll see. So anything else you want to talk about on this, or we want to go somewhere else?
Nope. I think this is good.
Okay. What's next?
This is good. So what's next? Facebook video calling portal adds WhatsApp login, new features and content.
Okay.
So, to the surprise of nobody that's ever listened to this show, Facebook continues to drive everything through one platform. They fixed the back ends. Now they're going to fix the front ends. You're going to be able to use every Facebook property on the portal eventually, right? That's the whole goal. And it makes sense, right? That's why they split off Facebook Watch. They're going to be able to do subscriptions. My guess is Facebook Watch will eventually get app subscriptions through that, also on the portal, so that you could watch, guess what? Disney Plus. That's my prediction, right? I really think that's going to happen here. But this makes so much sense that you could log in via WhatsApp. Who cares, right? Eventually, they're going to add Instagram login. Yeah. And hey, spoiler alert, anybody watching or listening, it's all Facebook. Scott, what do you think?
Well, I'm not a Facebook portal user yet. Even though the damn ads are constant when you're watching football games, I've noticed it's constant. I'm not a guy who watches much live TV except for the NFL's on, and so I'm like, wow, they're really pouring tons of money into the whole portal deal. But yeah, I've never used WhatsApp. I'm not a WhatsApp guy, but yeah, I think it makes sense for them to make all these logins, because then you immediately get a user base that wants to come on there. So yeah, I think it's smart for him to do it, but I'm not like really excited about it. I don't know about you guys. You any of y'all have Portal yet?
Nope.
No Portal here.
No.
Yeah,
Who was it? Who was our guest that had Portal? Wasn't it Stephanie Lou?
Jen Herman
Jen
had
has
one.
it. That's right. Jen's got Portal. So yeah, because she's got a daughter, right? So that totally makes sense. And again, if I could get Portal and get it mailed to me, log in with credentials for my dad, and not give him a Facebook account, and make it so he could just communicate with me. I mean, if I could just give him an iPad, Portal would be a useful tool, right? But I don't know. I don't see this. The more they do, right? Hold on, stop right there, right? Including Amazon Prime Video, Fandango Now, Sling TV, and others. What do you know? That is, I didn't even see that in there until we just saw that. How funny, right? Of course they are. Because that's why people are going to be. It's like, hey, Grandma, come watch the latest Left Blue Shark, or what is it, Baby Shark? Doo-doo, doo-doo.
That's stuck in her head.
Yeah, Baby Shark, right? That's it. So but business owners, though, again, video calling now through WhatsApp, you could do more business overseas, customer support. I can see try-ons, right? So we could have custom wigs. So Scott, if you decide you no longer want an orange wig and now you want a blue wig, you can now try it on via the Facebook portal, and I could see you in real time. What do you think?
I think Chad's adding some comments here on the live that he uses it and he loves it because he's got family not in the U.S. So I do think that is an interesting feature. So you don't have to worry about international calling. So I do see where that could come in and be a big deal for people. You know, I don't have family overseas, but half our company is overseas in Paris. So that could be an interesting way for us to communicate outside of, someone's not at their laptop or on a Wi-Fi. I guess they could log in through Facebook, I suppose, and connect to it. But yeah, I feel like they're forcing this on people way too hard, and I haven't had any interest in it locally where I'm at. That's for sure.
I mean, the hardest part with this, is I've got a phone. So if I want to get in touch with somebody, I'm going to use my phone. I'm going to, I'll use the video calling feature within Messenger. I might use the video feature, but I'm probably not going to use that to have, a face-to-face. For example, when Phil and I want to get on and chat about things, we'll go into like StreamYard for the most part. We might try, a couple other services. So it's like, well, why do I need Facebook portal as well? I already have essentially a portal in my hand, my smartphone. So
yeah, but again, people, this would be the same that we could talk about anything though. This is consolidation and drawing people back, right? This is another feature that we don't need, but that adds to the allure of a portal. I mean, they're getting closer. I mean, I still don't want one, but I'm getting really close to saying, hey, Dad, up in Crivets, Wisconsin, I should get you one so that the next time you decide to jump off the silo, I can see that on video. Right. So I'm going to strap that to your head instead of a GoPro and let's see what's up.
Right. But I assume that those things have to be plugged in and used inside your home. You can't walk around with the portal.
Well, so that's a good question, right? So probably right now. Yep. Yes. Long term, right? Because they probably don't understand battery life yet. They probably don't have a lot of stuff built in that we expect with those things, those newfangled technology that Christian mentioned, those telephones, right? Those smartphones. But I would, that's a really good point, Scott. And likely, I think that does steer people away. But again, man, I don't see the portal being the device you take on your boat when you're fishing. I see this as the device that sits in your kitchen and I want to make a meal with grandma. I see this as a device that sits in the living room and I want to make and I want to watch a movie, or I want to watch the fireplace or the Christmas gift opening. Or I see that this is in the fitting room to try on clothes, right? I can see that. I don't know that it really is meant to be on the go.
Yeah, but why couldn't I just do that with my phone, like you said? I mean, that's where
totally agree.
I know Chad's saying here in the comments that it's like you're in the same room talking and it's hands free and stuff, and the camera follows you. But I don't know. I can set my phone down and do the same thing ish. I don't know. I guess I'd have to go play with it. I guess if it does literally follow you around and move around, that's a little interesting. But
yeah, but that's software though. That's not even a hardware thing, right? That's the thing. I mean, that software has been around for years. It's just that Facebook put it inside of the portal. That is interesting though, Chad. That's a really good point. And hey, buddy, if anybody's commenting and you're thinking, hey, how come it shows up with the Facebook F instead of my picture? Just go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and you can get that set up so that you can do that. So Eddie Garrison recommends that every single time that he goes live with StreamYard. So just something to think about.
So, overall, I mean, in addition to this, so Phil, like they're adding the WhatsApp login feature, they're adding, from a business perspective, and this will be interesting. I think this will be a future feature that will be useful. They're looking to get traction for businesses. So they're adding support for Facebook Workplace, their corporate version, obviously of Facebook that's used by 3 million paying customers. Like that actually could be useful if I'm a business and I start to put Facebook portals within my business. I guess thinking of it from this perspective, you're not going to plug this in at your house and be always connected to work. It would probably be there for you within your workplace. They're also adding some AR lip syncing features as well, a feature called Mic Drop for Portal TV. So,
nice. So they're gonna be a combination of TikTok and WhatsApp. How nice. Could they rip any more features off? Remember when Facebook was original? Nope, me either, because they never were. That's what makes them genius, right? They put all their money behind, they study, and then they rip us off. So good job, Facebook. Continue that, Zuckerberg. You're way smarter than Jack, by the way. I have to say, I'm gonna like the fact that he rips stuff off, but at least he listens to the marketplace as opposed to Jack, who is just send a tweet to @Jack and just let him know that Phil Gerb thinks he's a moron, because I really do.
And by the way, they're also adding this. This is useful. I think again, this is a good starting point. They're going to be adding live streaming directly to your Facebook profile using Facebook Live. So hopefully, maybe I don't know. Maybe Facebook Pages will get that functionality at some point.
Not in the portal. So, why would you put it on the portal? It's a personal device.
I could see though. I could see it being useful though if I'm like from a customer service standpoint.
Sure, I got you. They just do that via Messenger though. That's private. You don't want that on your page.
Well, I'm thinking if somebody wanted to do a live show and say they're a chef or a mechanic, or they're wanting to show what they're doing and they don't have to hold their phone and they don't have a cameraman to move around with them, that could be kind of interesting.
I got you. Yep, I can see that too, right? I'm just saying, I think initially though, it's a personal device. And once they get hooked, then we'll move to something else.
And I think too, it's another smart way for Facebook just to get more data. That's really what this is. They're getting more data to advertise towards us and making it fun and seem like this homey friendly thing. But in the end, they're gathering our data. That's really what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you start to get the games, you start to get the TV side of things. You start to then learn way more about your customers, their habits, when they're viewing things, what all they're doing. So lots and lots of things going on there. But I mean, I'm glad they're making these updates. I do wonder when, this is the toughest part with technology. Like if you buy, a portal, is it going to get upgraded with a new version? Or is it something that Facebook can actually update with software? Because it's
software, brother. It's software. They're smart, man. They're leaping ahead with this. Think about the new iPhone, right? I got the 13. It is all software. Whatever it is, 11, 57. It makes no difference what it is, right? Mm-hmm. But every one of those it's all software driven. That's where the cash is. That's where that's for real. That's where I'd put all my money in it. I wouldn't put it in the hardware at all.
No, not at all, because hardware is changing too rapidly.
Way too rapidly. So I like my new iPhone, is vibranium. It's pretty nice. So it's made the same thing as Captain America's shield and Iron Man's underwear. Oh, so it's true.
So, okay, where are we going next?
So let's Twitter. Oh no, we're done with Twitter. Let's go to YouTube. Let's talk about their comment on COPPA or COPPA, if you will, Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. This is very, very interesting, right? So the thing is, so many kids and so many families love YouTube. Well, if you're not careful, you're violating COPPA. If you're not careful, you are enabling these kids to get naughty stuff. Now, naughty stuff could just be the fact that I just said the word ass. Or it could be the fact that, I'm going to go topless at the end of the show. It could, or anything in between, right? So that's the thing. COPPA is very murky as far as what it is. And of course, and smartly so, YouTube said, we're going to overreact, overprotect, over lockdown, and nail you if you're in violation and really not give you much of an opportunity to rebut it. Not much of a chance to appeal it, which again, it makes sense. We don't know where this is going to shake out. So do the good stuff. I don't know, Scott, what do you think? Are you guys thinking about COPPA at all or what?
Yeah, I mean, we're not real big on YouTube, even though we're getting more and more into it here lately with I'm taking our live show and making summary versions of it and put it into a new YouTube channel. But I'm in a lot of groups that talk about this, and you hear big creators, Jeremy Vest and Scott Simpson, a lot of Daryl Reeves is in there. Daryl Eves. I always get his name wrong. Yeah. And they're talking about this a lot because they're big, massive creators with 500,000 followers or more. The scary part of it, a lot of people are scared of it because they said if you don't check that you're not for kids, let's say, and then they declare your video is for kids, that they were saying at first you could get sued for like $42,000 or something like that. They have come back though. I think Facebook, YouTube said here recently, and this may be on this blog here, that they're not necessarily going after every single creator and going to kind of go after them. They're kind of just going after people who are gaming the system, I suppose. But the fear is like for someone like let's say like Scott, who's the guy from Video Marketing Academy, he's got a family vlog on there, and sometimes it's for kids, sometimes it's not, but what if there's a kid in the video? YouTube's parameters are so gray. It's like, so if a kid walks by you in a video, is that for kids now? Or if you got on a Captain America shirt, is that for kids now? And so there's a lot of gray areas here that are scaring creators big time on that side of it. Then the other side of it too is the rules that are changing. If you are someone who produces content for kids, you're kind of screwed now. I mean, because now kids can't add, that content can't be added to playlists. There can't be comments on that content. And you can't, have ads that are specific to a certain age group on that. So, I mean, they're killing the business of a lot of people on there, which may be a good thing. I don't know. I'm a parent with 3 kids under 13, so I kind of don't want them getting advertised towards anyway. But I think they're hurting a lot of creators here, I think.
So I think part of that, for going back to your point there, just the last one, I think that a lot of the crackdown from YouTube is people doing like unboxing videos. So they're doing a kids unboxing video. And, in this case, like kids are able to, like, they're going to want to watch the video, but then there's also ads that are going to play. The kids aren't going to know how to skip out of that, so basically the advertisers are gaming that. And, in a way they're utilizing a child in this video when, they really shouldn't be, kind of game the overall, revenue aspect of things. So I'm kind of glad they're cracking down on it from that perspective, but absolutely definitely needs to be, something that, it just needs to be way more clear for people how this works.
Well, that's always the problem, right? Let's be really clear. COPPA is the problem. And I'd also tell you, a lot of these creators have liked the fact that kids watch, even though kids don't buy, because it drives up their view count, right? Let's just be totally honest. Yeah. There is no real business there. It is just a way to make more money. Because, if you tell 30 of your friends, I mean, a lot of the stuff that goes viral, like I would say Twitter retweets, a lot of the stuff that goes viral is like 11-year-old humor. Now, I'm a little more mature than that. I'm a 12-year-old boy, so not all of that is appropriate for me, right? But in all seriousness, a lot of this stuff that goes viral it's not funny to me. Like, I just don't get it. I might be an old curmudgeon-y white guy. Maybe that's what it is, right? But for real, I don't get it. And so the fact that COPPA now is going to say, you can't monetize kids. I'm in favor of that, right? I've got 2 nieces that I adore, and then a niece and nephew and my other brother that I totally adore, that I would do anything for, that I know the pressure of some of these videos makes them incredibly sad.
Right.
And so I don't want that stuff in their hands. I don't want some of these jackwagons that have millions of views. Because what happens is these popularity contests is my niece is never going to get 1 million views on her YouTube video unless she gets naked and a bunch of perverts watch it. I'm just being straight up, right? That's the challenge. And I got to tell you, if that happens, I'm going to drive and find every effing commenter and every effing liker that does that, that's over 18, and I'm going to cut their you-know-what off. For real, because that's such crap, man. That's the problem here. That's why COPPA was created. Right. So I'm in favor of the fact that, to your point, Scott, that these content creators got hurt. But I think good for them. They should have been hurt. Yep. They should get kicked in the junk for trying to exploit kids.
Yeah, I think a business that's, built around kids under 13 years old is bad. But look at like Toys R Us and those sort of places. They've done that for.
But that's easy to follow the rules. That's easier to follow the rules.
Right. Right. But there were no rules. That's the problem.
No, but even so, just use your head, right? Like, I mean, come on, man. Don't exploit kids. Right. Full stop. I don't care if it's psychological, if it's physical, if it's visual. I don't give a crap, man. Just stop exploiting kids.
Yeah.
Really simple. Right. Yeah, and you're right. It's going to be harder. You're not going to make money hand over fist like you did because you're not going to be able to psychologically mind screw these little 13-year-old kids. But good. You shouldn't have been able to in the first place.
Yeah, like I don't let my kids on social media. Like I've blocked YouTube on their tablets a long time ago, so they can't get it. We have YouTube. We use Amazon Fire. That's our TV box, if you will. And so we've got YouTube on there, and I'll let my son. He likes to watch, and why I don't understand. But he likes to watch this guy play Minecraft, which is so mind-boggling to me. He'll watch that instead of watching Netflix. But I've noticed that the ads pop in a lot. And so, I mean, it's making him psychologically want that toy or want whatever that is. And so I told him recently, like, you can watch one a day for 10 minutes and you're done. You're not sitting there all day watching that stuff. And I think it's sad that kids have been now for 4, 5, 6 years, they've been programmed to go to YouTube and watch everything. And they're watching people do the stuff that they could just go do, which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, totally agree. Christian, you get the last word.
I mean, overall, I think the other thing I think I'd say here. So, Scott, I want to know kind of what both you and Phil, like what you think. So, right now, the way this works is anytime you upload a video to YouTube, you could either go into your channel and set all of your videos as for kids or not for kids, or you can go in and do it individually for every single video that is added. Which way are you guys kind of leaning on that?
Well, I don't do anything for kids, so I pick. I'm. I don't care. Like, I'm happy to do it that way so that I can pick each one and not for kids, right? By default, mine is not kids. Right. But, sometimes, I'm glad that I can default that because I would never, like I said, nothing that I do or say is for my niece and nephew. If it is, they get a private message from me, right? I send them a text message that their mom sees, that their dad sees, and then they hand them the phone and says, "Hey, Uncle Phil's talking to you."
Yeah, we went and set our channel to where, for every video we've ever posted or future is not for kids. But then you have to worry about if you do have a video that is for kids, what do you do with that? So, I mean, I think have your channel specific and then be smart. I mean, I think you're better off saying everything's not for kids, but you are I guess it's going to change who you can go towards after that.
Yep. Yeah, I think so too.
And I do the individual videos. I mean, because your channel should have a strategy from the beginning. Like, what are you actually going to be posting? You're not going to go on there and you're going to have like, oh, I'm going to post this one video and then I'm going to have a different playlist for this kind of video.
You would think, yeah. Like, so here's an interesting rule. My wife's a kindergarten teacher, and so she uses YouTube playlists big time from a lot of these creators who are like, playing funny, silly songs and ABC songs and teacher related stuff, all appropriate, for a kindergarten class. These videos now have to be marked for kids, and then you can't put them in playlists. It doesn't seem like anymore after this goes into effect. So now her playlists are gone. Is what she's worried about, and she has those set up, and she's been teaching now for 3 or 4 years. So now that hurts. That's a real world, kind of hard spot for her now as a teacher. She's going to have to find these videos in a different way. So it makes her life a little bit more complicated. So that's an odd thing, though.
That's a whole nother, that's a whole nother kettle of fish, man.
Oh,
that's the challenge, right? I mean,
you would think as an adult it wouldn't matter if she's watching these, but I guess you mark that video for kids, you can't do anything with it on playlists and stuff like that.
Well, and I'm curious if it's new playlists or old ones. I mean, to your point, right? We'll see. But this is interesting. I would say, for our business owners here that are listening, just think about your strategy. I mean, we say this every dang week, right? And if you're listening and you're thinking you want more, make sure you sign up for socialchefs.com/daily so you can get our emails and stuff like that. But here's the thing. We hear this all the time, right? Oh, this didn't work. That didn't work. Well, how did that fit into your strategy? Like, why were you actually doing that? Why were you thinking about that? And that's one of the reasons, like I said at the jump here, why I like Scott so much is Scott doesn't just say, hey, here's what I think. He actually tests and creates metrics and doesn't just make up statistics like I do. So I appreciate that, Scott. That's really cool because, 57% of women have turned me down for a first date before they even knew I was alive. It's really incredible.
Yeah, that number seems a little low.
You're right, but that's because actually 2 of them included were my mom, and she said maybe. So I'm just saying she didn't give me a yes, but we're just saying hard stop no. Yeah, but I mean really though, I do love that fact, and I think that's really important, folks. So if you're listening here, first go play with the Core Pulse, right? Go check out their labs, check out our newsletter, right? Socialchefs.com/daily. Make sure you get that, and then have a strategy. Please have a strategy, because if you don't, you are just preparing to fail.
So Twitter, what else we covered? A little Facebook.
Well, we got one more. So let's do the Facebook one. Let's talk about this because we're almost the holidays, right? And I like metrics when somebody else does them. And this is one of those. Facebook is helping us do better metrics. Cross-account reporting, analyzing performance across multiple accounts, and create your own metrics, which is great. So if you outsource your social to somebody and you maybe have multiple brands, multiple pages, now you can cross the chasm and actually put these together so you can see, which will be extremely interesting for holidays. And then you can then look ahead and say, did that actually work? What did I do that caused that? Because we have the social media laboratory guy here with us, who, Scott, how many people actually look at stats?
Not enough. That's they look at it when they're in trouble, or they wonder, our boss comes to them and says, hey, why are we not producing, more leads or whatever. See, I think it's a pretty low number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you, Scott, on that 100%. I think it's a very low number. People don't spend a lot of time on stats.
Well, I think it scares them, especially, sometimes the way Facebook gives you your data is kind of a pain in the butt to get to, especially now if you're in the business manager page setting. You got to go to business manager, you got to go to creator studio. It's like 3 or 4 hops to get to it. So that's kind of a pain in the butt. So I understand that. I had a small business for years, and it was even for me, even though I was doing social media, I was working for a Post Planner at the time, and a little bit when I started Agora Pulse, I had a small business, and even me, I'd have a hard time going and looking at the data on that account because I'm like, I ain't got time to go deal with it. So I think something that can make it a little simpler would be really nice.
Definitely agree with that. So, Phil, what do we have going on here basically? So they roll out some custom ad metrics. Yeah.
So some ad metrics, multiple accounts, right? Formulate your own metrics. Just gives us an opportunity to see better metrics to make better decisions. If we have a strategy, if we know who our audience is, we can target them.
Right.
So it's pretty simple. Pretty simple.
And I think a lot of people, I think they get into the mindset that like, oh, hey, I'm just going to publish this content, and they're going to look at, the superficial content. They're going to look at the likes, the reactions, the number of reactions they get, if there's any comments. They're not going to actually then dig into like anything else, I think, for the most part. And unfortunately, it's not a set it and forget it model. Like, you don't just like, throw money at, unless you're like a company that has tons of money to just blow, just spend, money and let your ads run, and don't really take the time to actually stop and go back and look at them and see how they perform and test and try different things. Scott, do you have any tips or recommendations, since you guys are experimenting a lot, for people who want to like get better at doing, this sort of thing?
As far as ads, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, whether it's ads or content, like how can they actually get better at measuring metrics? Like, what are some of the things they should do?
I think you gotta go look at them often, like you said. I think you need the biggest problem people have when they test stuff is they do it once and then say, well, I'll make a conclusion off that one damn post. Right. Really, it needs to be over a period of time. So maybe you test something for a month, and then you come back and look at it and see if you made any sort of results. I think people test too short of a time frame, or they see something go viral and think that's what they ought to do. Every time, and they don't look at the data in it. So, I think testing over a long period of time and then shifting when needed. I think there's a lot of people who, have posted the same way on Facebook for the last 2 years and don't understand why it's not working. Right. But Facebook has changed, and even the ads have changed. Like this, I do think this is cool. This little feature, this ad we're looking at, or this blog, because now they're really kind of helping people who are running other people's ad accounts. Look at them. Like, I've got 2 ad accounts, and it's a pain to go in and look at both. I've got to log in. I've got to switch to that one, switch back to this one. So being able to look at both of them in one spot is really smart. And we do actually, this a selfless, shameless plug here for us. We actually created a free tool called Ads Report, where you can go look at your ads, and you can look quickly at your multiple ad accounts and kind of get a quicker overview of your performance of your ads, kind of similar to this, but a little less, spreadsheet looking, that you can kind of check out as well.
Very cool. So Phil, do you want to add anything else to this?
Nope, not at all. I just want to say again, it comes back to strategy. Have a strategy. If you have it, this could be really useful. If not, probably scares the crap out of you. have a strategy. That's what I'm thinking. So Christian, I think it's time we dance, right? Isn't it tool time?
It is, yes.
Yeah. So Scott, get ready, man. It is time that we do the tool time dance, right? So it's almost like, let's do the tool time again. Let's do the tool time again. Hey, everyone, it's tool time. It's your favorite time of the Social Chatter Show. Every week, we bring you 2 or more tools that can help you grow your business strategically. Now, we test them out so you don't have to. Sometimes they're brand new tools that we've never seen before that we get recommended by our guests, but we do our best to think about how you might actually incorporate them into your work. It's tool time, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're talking podcasting, which is pretty cool, right? Podcasts are pretty cool. And hey, don't you have an awesome podcast over at Agora Pulse there, Mr. Ayres?
I've heard of this podcast called Social Media Lab, where these two guys, talk about scientific studies on social media. So yeah, Social Media Lab podcast.
Fantastic. Social Media Lab podcast. That is terrific. So cool. So that would be number 1 on our list. Because again, Scott tests, retests. Now, is that with Owen Hemsath? Is that right?
No. Our live show that we do on Facebook every Wednesday is with Owen, but the podcast I actually do with one of my coworkers named Richard Beeson. He's got a voice that's made for radio. He's worked for our company for I think he's going on like 6 years, something like that. And he's always wanted to do a podcast. And so about 2 or 3 years ago when we started this, he's like, yes, I finally can do a podcast with somebody. So he produces it and scripts it, and our podcasts typically are less than like 12 minutes long. I think our last one was like 8. We keep it nice and short, but kind of fun, have fun with it, and we're kind of quirky. And he's got this crazy deep voice that works great for a podcast.
Awesome. So you got Morgan Freeman on your team. That's impressive.
Right. Yeah.
Glad to hear that. So that's one. So as we talk about that, let's slide into our different apps, and then we're going to each share our 3 favorite podcasts. So Christian, you've got Breaker up, the number 1 best podcast app for phone. This is super duper interesting. So Christian, did you download this? What are you doing with it?
I have downloaded to test it out. I like testing these because they make it easy to listen. So for example, I'm glad, on iOS devices, they have, built-in podcasting support so I can easily download things and whatnot. But I like testing different ones, and Breaker's one that I'm actually testing right now. Just the ability to go in and just have a bit of a different view. I mean, to see what people are listening to engage with the content. And also I think that, it adds features that are often missing from some of the stock podcasting apps. So that's what I'm using it for. So
yeah, I started using it, I guess, a week ago when you guys mentioned it. And I went, okay, what is this? Because I'm an Android guy, and so I don't have a built-in podcasting app. I have to use Stitcher or one of the other ones. And Stitcher's usually what I've always used, but it's hard to find stuff on Stitcher unless you know what you're looking for. I've found myself this week addicted to Breaker, because you can connect and see if there's any friends on there. I found 10 or so friends in the social media space. I can see what they're listening to and what podcasts they're subscribed to. And that really helps you out to find new content that you maybe didn't know about before. I listened to 2 or 3 podcasts on my drive this morning, and 2 or 3, I'll listen to 2 or 3 on my drive back later. And I'm really liking it. And so it's kind of got me back into listening to podcasts where I kind of sometimes, I got to open up Stitcher. I've got to go over there again. And it's the order with Stitcher is sometimes weird. Now Stitcher's got a premium plan to find different stuff, but I like the fact that I can skip the silent spots on a podcast. Yes. That's kind of cool. I can turn that on. So if there's this gap on the podcast, it'll skip right through it, which is really neat. And I listen to everybody at 1.4 times the normal speed, which is always funny. I've done that forever. It's funny when you listen to someone's podcast like that, and then you meet them in real life and they talk really slow. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. That's right. I listen to you really, really fast. And so, yeah, I'm loving Breaker right now. And I think the whole theme is is it supposed to be like a surf theme or ocean theme?
Yeah, catch a breaker, right? Wave, breaker.
Yeah. You Tampa guy, you probably get that.
Yeah, I totally get that, man. So surf's up, dude.
And you have to look at some of these apps. So here's the thing. This, you can use the, to Scott's point, he's on Android, he can use, some other app to basically listen to podcasts. He can listen through Spotify, through, let's see, I think Google Play probably has an app, or at least you can listen through that. If you're over on iOS, you've got the Apple Podcast app, but oftentimes they're missing, certain features. So that's where I recommend like testing out some of these different apps. I mean, they do things a little differently. For example, they highlight that episodes download in a consistent order. Like that may not seem like a big deal, but if you use an app and you think about how much time it takes you to actually go through and, well, hey, why is this app showing up? This is not the next episode. A lot of times that just is how the apps are built. So it's worth testing these out. And in this case, I mean, this is a freemium app. It's a free download. And then they have some in-app purchases for a couple of dollars here and there. But I'd recommend testing them out. I mean, see what you like. There's besides Breaker, there's tons of other ones as well.
Oh yeah, tons. Yeah. It's in podcasting still so hot, so there's always going to be new ones out there. And the cool thing too, I hopped into my Libsyn account yesterday to kind of see if I could search for downloads from Breaker, and it actually shows. And if you search your if you search in the data, it'll show you how many downloads you've had through Breaker. It wasn't a lot, obviously, for us yet because it's still a new app, but people are actually. I found we already had I think 20 or 30 subscribers to the podcast on Breaker, so people are already listening over there, which was kind of neat.
Yeah, so do you have any tips, by the way, before we go into the next thing, do you have any tips overall for you mentioned you listen to podcasts on your commute, for example.
Yeah.
What's your process for picking what you're going to listen to? Is it hey, I got a 30-minute drive today. I'm going to try to listen to this episode. You listen to parts of an episode. How do you work?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I like to be done with it before I get out of the car or whatever, or working out or whatever it is that I'm doing. Because if I try to go back later, I tend to go, what was I listening to? Then you got to rewind it. And so, yeah, I like to find stuff that's in those short 25 to 30-minute chunks. Okay. Unless I've got maybe if I'm in a longer drive or I'm on the bike or something like that, and I've got 45 minutes. And that's the good thing about being able to play it at a faster speed too. So if you want to listen to it, because your brain can consume it. At 1.5 to 1.75 speed without being too confused. And so I get through them. It's like speed reading. So yeah, I always like to find ones that fit into that time. And also, I mean, selection wise, I mean, I've got my 4 or 5 that I really love. And I love some of the daily ones that come on every day. So I kind of get a little bit of tidbit, 7-8 minutes. Neil Patel's podcast is 7 or 8 minutes long, and I'm done with it. And I'm on to the next one.
Cool. That's fantastic. Well, Breaker looks like a good way to listen to podcasts in a more social way. So, Christian, what's the other app that we've got this week?
So the other app we have this week, and by the way, thanks a lot for everybody who's, if you're watching live or you're listening to the podcast or the flash briefing as well, really, thanks a lot for tuning in this week. So the second tool that we have this week is called Podcast Co. And, and this is a tool that there's a couple of different versions of this. So you can go on their website, you can pay, I think it's minimum $30, I think it is a month for your podcast. But they are running a deal right now with AppSumo, and this is actually a really good deal. It's $80, basically roughly $80 if you want a show with some collaborators, 500 gigs of monthly downloads, unlimited episodes, unlimited listeners. And then obviously if you want additional shows, you can increase to their second and third tiers. This is overall, this is a fantastic mix and match, I think I'd say, is what I would basically say you're going to get with this. But what you're going to get is a podcast player. So every podcast you upload is going to get a page on Podcast Co.'s website. In addition to that, you're going to get, obviously it's going to help you with your hosting, because as Scott mentioned, how much you pay a month, Scott? $20 a month, I think, for Libsyn.
Yeah, it's probably somewhere around there. Yeah. I don't even know.
Yeah, so $20 a month, and that depends on and that might be just to host your podcast. So, right. You haven't even started monetizing it. You're putting out, minimum $240 a year. These are actually lifetime deals that I have pulled up here that you basically get with the Podcast Co option. Definitely a good tool worth using, especially if you're starting a podcast and you haven't really put any effort, into it, getting sponsors or advertising and that sort of thing. But that's the second tool. Phil, anything you want to add about tool number 2?
My thoughts on this. First, I don't know how long these guys have been around or how long they're going to be around. So I'd be curious how we can export our podcast from there. I mean, I was a big Pippa.io fan for a while, and they went from $20 a month to I can't afford it even if I want to afford it, because they clearly, they don't know what they're doing, which is fine. A lot of companies don't, but so I'm curious about that. But this is a great price. I mean, $80 for a lifetime subscription. That's like 6 months on, of a medium, kind of small to medium podcast. I think that's fantastic, right? That gives us some great opportunity there. Play around, and if you invest a little more, then you get up to 3 shows. And to be clear, if your show dies, you should actually kill the show, kill your baby. Don't just throw new stuff on top of it. Because that's a great way to get people to hate your guts. So please don't do that.
No, definitely worth. I mean, like you said, I mean, $80. That for the most part, I mean, say it's $20 a month. I mean, that's what, like you said, 3 months of just hosting another company. In this case, you're going to get access to all of these features that they have listed here. So, your analytics, your custom podcast page, you're going to get a player that you can embed on your blog or your website. So, for example, if you write some content, this could go with that. So that way people can listen to the content or they can read it. So a good combination there as far as features, but price wise, so it's $80 here. And if I actually go over to the Podcast Co website, I'll actually get you guys the pricing as well there, because that's where like it does, the prices do change quite a bit. So let me just pull that up real quick. You want to add something, Scott?
Yeah, I just think I liked all the features that are built in, because we mentioned Libsyn a while ago. I mean, we use Libsyn. Their landing page for your podcast episodes is awful. It's like just weird little cover photo, and it's just not very appealing. And so we hardly ever send that link out to anyone because it's just not a good looking site. So I like that you can kind of create that and create your player. We do use a different player plugin that we use for our web. So we don't even use Libsyn's plugin on our.
What are you using, Scott?
We use Pat Flynn's.
Okay.
What is it? The Smart Podcasts player. We use it to embed on the blog post, and we have our own dedicated page for the podcast that has a player that has every episode on it.
Yep.
And it automatically updates, just like this is doing.
But we actually talked about Pat's podcast player last week, actually.
Oh, okay.
So that's actually good timing. But yeah, kind of different strokes for different folks. Like try the one that actually, for the most part, they're free to install. And then if you want some of the features, they obviously cost at that point. But so if I were to go with the AppSumo deal here, that's what, $80 basically lifetime. I can also go to podcast to their website and pay $29 a month for one show, unlimited episodes, unlimited listeners, and then one user, or $50 a month for their little network option, which gives me one show, unlimited episodes, unlimited listeners, and 3 users, or 3 shows, which is $99 a month with 5 users. So it's a bit of a mix and match plan. I definitely think the AppSumo deal is great if you're someone who's just getting started with a podcast, because there's a small amount of money you do have to outlay at the
so. Awesome. So Christian, we got to do our top 3 podcasts. But we don't have time for that. So let's just give one and let folks know. So Monday, if you sign up at socialchef.com/daily, Christian's going to send out an email with the top 10 of that. So you can see our favorite top 10 led off by the Agora Pulse podcast that you can check out. So dun, 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 dun. But let's start with Scott. Scott, what's your favorite podcast? If you're going to pick just one.
It's really hard, but I would say right now for me, I've mentioned it a minute ago, the Marketing School with Neil Patel and Eric Sue, I think it's pronounced right. It's a daily podcast. It's like 7 or 8 minutes long, but it's really practical business tips that you can like get off the podcast and go apply right now. So I really like it. It's easy to consume, but it's also actionable. And Neil is so data driven, than Eric both. And so I love that that's all about data, and they test things on that podcast and talk about it. So Marketing School is cool. What it's called. I signed up for that one. Christian, what you got?
I think I like Michael Port's Steal the Show, actually.
Oh, that's a great show.
So I like that one. Part of it's the energy, but also, I think at the same time, if somebody wants to be, a public speaker, you need some tips and whatnot. One of my favorite podcasts, and I like the energy that he brings as well.
Yeah.
I think it gives you it encourages you to then want to go out and hey, let me actually stop and look at what I'm doing, or let me actually take the time and apply some of these things. And I think, Scott, we're going to have probably the same theme here, like application, like what can I apply right now versus, oh, great, I listened to your podcast. Now I got to think about it some more. Take some action. So that's what I like that one. How about you, Phil?
Well, I'm going to we talked before the show. I'm actually going to throw a different one in. I'm going to tell you, I like because I listen to this one a lot too. It is The One Thing. Okay. The One Thing is written by the guys who wrote the book, The One Thing. Great. Gary Keller, Jay Papasan, that company. It's actually hosted, though, by Jeff Woods, and it is fantastic. It is always focused on getting back to your fundamentals, which in many of our cases, it is all about the strategy. Mm-hmm. So I would encourage you to listen to The One Thing. Super simple. And it's O-N-E, The One Thing.
Okay. Very good selections there. So we'll be sure to put these out in we'll put them out in a blog post. Anything else you guys want to share on podcasting? Any tips you want to give for viewers or listeners?
Oh, come on now. That we'd be here all day, Christian.
Right.
I'd be here all day.
What would be one thing you would want somebody to take away?
Scott, you go first. I'm not going to steal yours. Whatever you got.
I would say be consistent. And so, I mean, I think we were talking about before the show, someone's done 707 episodes. Be consistent. A lot of people have a hard time I've had multiple podcasts where I went like 50 episodes in and something happened. And then I quit doing it for 2 weeks. And I went, I'm never going to get back to it. And it's dead. Record your shows early, and get them ahead of time. And see if you can if you're going to do it every week, write down 52 episodes or at least half of that before you get started. So you have your ideas, but be consistent with it, whether it's once a month, twice a month, whatever it is.
That's a great idea. HelloCast would help you with that. If you haven't heard of HelloCast, it's a fantastic tool. HelloCast.co is a great tool to help you get that strategy there. That's owned by my buddy Brandon Hull. So good stuff. My one tip, I like consistent. I would also say think about your format and have something a little bit different. The straight up interview format with no breaks is dying. So you got to think about that. You got to think about your format and consider that, and then be willing to play around if it doesn't get you the results you want. But you do need a little bit of time. I'd tell you probably need 5 to 10 episodes, and you need those downloaded before people can give you feedback, right? So just because you don't like it doesn't mean your audience won't, because you're not your audience. Yeah. So yeah, Christian, your one tip.
So I think my one tip would be, so it's going to play off the consistency side of things. So I think that you need to block out time and put the most important things first in your day. So a lot of people, if you want to, for instance, run a podcast every single week or a live show or write one piece of blog content, you have to, A, have a strategy, but B, spend the time and, just do that one thing first before you get into your day, or, because by the end of the day, you're going to get home and you're going to say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to work on this. I'm tired, or other things are going to come up. So put the most important thing at the beginning of the day, because I think it'll also empower you to take action and to then want to stick with it. That's what I think.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Love that advice. Makes it super duper simple. So cool. So we're super jacked that you were with us this week, Scott. As usual, You are a bundle of knowledge and energy, and I love the orange hair, man. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. I've watched the show here and there, so it's kind of fun to hop on and I get the chance to rag, Christian a little bit about beating him in the fantasy league. And both y'all just had birthdays too, didn't you? So it's like birthday week for both of you.
Yeah.
So happy birthday for both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. So what's the best place for people to get in touch with you?
You can find us in Agora Pulse Lab on all the social sites at Agora Pulse Lab, and even go to agorapulselab.com. We'll direct you over to our blog.
Cool. Very cool.
Awesome.
So with that, I just want to let everybody know just a couple of things. We're going to have the blog post recap that'll go out tomorrow, socialchefs.com/SC220. That's episode 220. Don't forget also, we've got the Alexa Flash briefing and the podcast as well to go out. I got some links there, socialchefs.com/Alexa and socialchefs.com/SC podcast if you want the podcast. And then next week, Phil, who do we have on the show?
Well, so we only have one episode left before we do our year-end wrap-up, and it's with my buddy, Beth Ziesnius. So Beth is spectacular. Her new book, The Big Book of Apps, is coming out, and it is awesome. I'm part of her nerd herd. Okay, so listen, I love tools. You probably sense my excitement, right? That this is happening. She is the tool queen. She finds cheap and free tools that we can use to run our business. So I'm a big fan of Beth Ziesnius. Super smart. She's yournerdybestfriend.com. If you don't know Beth, you should absolutely follow her, get to know her. She's Beth Z in a lot of places because Easnius is hard to spell. But she's fantastic. Big fan of Beth. And yeah, she's on next week, 8 a.m.
Yes.
8 a.m. East Coast, 7 a.m. Central. That's 5 a.m. for all you turkeys on the West Coast. So you'll probably be catching the replay. But we're glad that Beth is joining us. And we're glad that everyone listened in today. We hope you had a great time playing. And if this is the first time, make sure you subscribe. And if this is not your first time, make sure you share it with a friend. Let us know how we can serve you even better with Social Chatter.
So thanks a lot for watching, everyone. We will see you all next Thursday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, facebook.com/social chefs or youtube.com/social chefs. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.